join Reform. We're all very happy, aren't we? Right. We have got to take some press questions before our finale. We've got lots of them, so Malcolm, we're going to have to rattle through.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to begin with Tony Maguire, GB News.
Good afternoon, Nigel and Malcolm. I just wanted to ask you a bit more of a national story to kick us off here. Sadiq Khan has told an Italian newspaper that he wants Labour to pledge to rejoin the EU if they win the next general election. Just wanted your thoughts on that, but also perhaps how should the SNP take that? Because they've been told for 10 years now not that they've been shut down any opportunity to revisit their referendum.
If the SNP were a nationalist party that believed in the independence of Scotland, they would not wish to leave the UK and hand it over to Brussels and join the euro. They're a bunch of hypocrites and need to be exposed as such. As for Khan, Rachel Reeves, all of them, they haven't got the imagination. They can't see the world's moved on. Why would we rejoin a bunch of economies, many of whom are doing even worse than we are, and shackle ourselves to them? It's complete madness. It won't fly. And by the way, we've got Lila Cunningham taking on Sadiq Khan as Mayor of London in 2028, and he will be out. He'll be out. Glenn Campbell, BBC Scotland. Sorry. Oh, come on, give him a break. Give him a break.
It's nice to feel that warm welcome. Nigel Farage, when you see the sharp spike in energy prices, do you regret saying that the UK should stand by America in the action against Iran?
The action against Iran was a decision taken by the Americans and the Israelis. We weren't part of it. I wasn't part of it. But you know something, in life you have to pick a side. And I think to have forbidden the Americans from using Diego Garcia, for example, was a terrible mistake. A terrible mistake. And we don't have to agree with everything America does. We don't have to join the offensive. I mean, how could we? It's now 19 days since a sovereign base was attacked in Cyprus, and not a single Royal Naval vessel has yet arrived. So we should support them. I'm not suggesting getting involved in the war. We're too weak and puny, even if we wanted to. But if we cast America off completely, our islands are defenceless. That is the point I'm making. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry, come in any time you want, Michael. We'll try and rattle through them. Ewan Petrie from STV. This is like a pantomime, isn't it?
Merry Christmas, Mr. Farage. My question is about timing today. Your conference began at exactly the same time as First Minister's questions. The Holyrood Parliament was also referred to this morning as a concrete jungle. Isn't that displaying a level of contempt for a parliament to which you are hoping to get members elected?
Oh, I'm very good at that. I expressed lots of contempt for the European Parliament, but in 2019 we became the biggest party in the whole of Europe. Look, to a large extent, the timings of this today were around my schedule, travelling right across the United Kingdom. There was no direct disrespect to the institution meant, but we do believe it needs reform, Malcolm.
We need to reform Holyrood. There is a cosy consensus there, and what reform wants to do is get in there to represent ordinary people. And the reality is that Holyrood is not delivered. Holyrood's been going for 25 years, and just get this single stat on this. When devolution started in 1999, the spending in Scotland's percentage of GDP was 43%. Today, 25 years later, Holyrood is spending 55% of GDP. Are our public services better?
I think that answers it. Peter Smith, ITV News. It's pretty simple, really. It's terrible, really.
Thank you.
Mr Farage, you have spent years telling voters in England that the Barnett formula is unfair because it gives the Scots too much money. You've promised them that you will fix that. Is that a message that you will be delivering on the doorsteps of Dundee and Glasgow in this election? And if so, can we come and film you telling people that the Scots get too much money and that Reform plan to change that? A question for Mr Offord. The man beside you is committing to his English base that there will be less money sent to Scotland. You're promising the Scottish voters you'll cut £2 billion in tax. How are we going to fund the public services that this underpins, the police, the NHS in Scotland, the schools?
Within a few years of a Reform government in Holyrood, you won't need the current Barnett formula because Scotland will have been turned around. And even the culture of saying we must get more and more and more from central government, if you think about it, it's the wrong mindset. It's the wrong mindset. Yes, of course, individuals go through bad times, countries go through bad times, but welfare, spending should not be permanent. There are massive economic opportunities in Scotland, firstly in the North Sea. I also believe financial services in Edinburgh could be a lot bigger with the right thinking than it is. So look, we as national government would be here to support Scotland, but we'd much rather see Scotland not need the money because it succeeded. And our message is one about hope. Good.
I'll just deal with it.
Yeah.
So on the question of how Scotland is financed, you know the GERS report comes out every year. We know that's an accurate reflection of Scotland's finances. In the last year's report, it states that we spend in Scotland 117.5 billion, and we raise in taxes 87.3. That means we've got a 30 billion deficit, paid for through the block grant. Now, that equates to 12% of GDP, and John Swinney is telling his supporters he wants to join the EU when the EU demand a 3% maximum deficit. If you want to see cuts, the amount of cuts that if they join the EU, Scotland would demand would be 20 billion. We're looking for 2 billion of cuts, and we know we can get that from a concept of breaking down ideological spend on environmental, and we know we're spending 6.5 billion, 132 unaccountable quangos. We know that we can find 3% of the Holyrood budget. And this is the thing, that when we put that money into £2 billion cut, we will over 10 years, we can earn 8 billion back. And that is how we'll fix the deficit in Scotland, which the SNP refused to acknowledge.
James Cook from BBC News.
Thanks very much, Mr Farage. Good afternoon. For one question to yourself, Mr Farage, if I may, why should the people of England pay higher taxes than the people of Scotland? And for Malcolm Offord, your manifesto here says you are against rancour and division, and yet you stood there dividing the people of Glasgow into locals and strangers. Is that not simply stirring up rancour and division?
You go first. You go first.
Whether you like it or not, from the BBC, you need to go and visit our working class communities to find people are upset, scared, divided, and no longer cohesive. It's not something we're making up. Glasgow has got a fantastic track record of integration, of immigration over 75 years. Am I correct? Okay? But what we have not had is in 5 years a sudden influx of men from countries that most of us have never been to, where they don't speak English, and we know that they've come to Glasgow because the local connection rule is broken. They will get free food and lodgings in Glasgow they can't get in England. That is not fair on local people. That is not divisive. We're trying to do the opposite. We want cohesive communities.
In successful economies like America, which is growing at 4% a year compared to our just about zero, different states charge different rates of taxes. It's called competition. There was a Scot called Adam Smith a few years ago, and this is the 250th year of his book, funnily enough, who understood that competition is good. If we in Scotland were to become more competitive, or you in Scotland, I should say, become more competitive than us in England, the English will moan and say, why can't we have this too? So I think it's a very, very good thing. And if Scotland becomes, through its own common sense and good budget management, more competitive as a place to be than England, then very, very good luck to you. Thank you. Catherine Sampson, Channel 4.
Malcolm Offord, you said at the start of this you want to be the next First Minister. Mr Farage, you then said you want reform to become the official opposition. There appears to be an ambition gap here. Is that because winning would actually be the worst thing that could happen to reform in Scotland because you'll be forced to deliver?
No, it's simply, Catherine, because I'm so modest, shy and understated in virtually everything that I do, and I never like to oversell. I like to undersell and overdeliver. And, I genuinely think that there is an energy and an enthusiasm and a sense of optimism about what we're offering and what we want to have debated, and I think we really could surprise you. And that's all I'm going to say on the subject. Thank you. David Walker, Scottish Daily Express.
Hi both. First, a couple of questions for you, Nigel. You suggested in your speech that the Islamic chanting you see at Trafalgar Square will come to Scotland. Could you please expand on that a wee bit? Ways are going to happen and why? And John Swinney suggested that the Reform voters and anti-immigration people are racist. What's your thoughts on that? And Malcolm, in your manifesto you said you're going to reduce the number of MSPs. Why would you do that? Why would you reduce the number of MSPs?
Look, the Muslim Brotherhood, which is prescribed in most Arab countries in the world, is still allowed to flourish in this country. It has an agenda, a dangerous agenda, which is they don't want to adopt or integrate with our way of life. They want to impose their way of life on us. And what you saw in Trafalgar Square, what you've seen in Coventry, are examples of that. I promise you, if it's happening in the Midlands, Scotland is not far behind. And I want to say this. The attempt, really since Blair's time, to shut down any rational debate about immigration, population explosion, or culture, the attempt to shut it down by screaming racist, do you know what? It doesn't work anymore. No one's listening.
On the Holyrood question, everybody in this room knows that Holyrood is underperforming for the Scottish people. Now, Holyrood has got control over devolved matters, and Westminster looks after reserved matters. Okay, and 80% of daily life in Scotland is influenced by Holyrood. Let me ask you this question. What percentage of Holyrood debating time is given to devolved matters, the schools, the hospitals, the roads, instead of ridiculous debates on international matters or reserved matters to London? Holyrood needs reform.
Yeah. Very good point. Justin Bowie, Press and Journal.
Thanks, both. A question also covering the Courier. Nigel, your comments were brought up regarding the tightening of handgun laws after the Dunblane tragedy recently. Given it's 30 years on from that and it's been brought up recently, do you regret your comments at the time, and would you stand by your views that those comments were knee-jerk? Or sorry, that the laws were knee-jerk?
No, we should ban everything. Let's ban everything. All I said was, I thought it was ludicrous that the British Olympic shooting team had to go to Calais to practice when we have armouries all over this country where guns of all kinds could perfectly safely be kept and used. After all, our forces have them under lock and key, and the public have no access to them. But this is, I'm afraid, the world we're living in. We're living in a world where politicians think their job is to make government bigger, taxes higher, and control of every aspect of our lives, frankly, in many cases, taken away from us. On to Mark McLaughlin, The Scottish Sun.
Good afternoon. You spoke earlier and you said that Scotland was a tolerant society. On the front page of the Scottish Sun today, we have someone promoting terrorism, but it was Paolo Nutini saying, up the Ra. A couple of weeks ago, we had a riot at Ibrox, people saying up the Ra and fuck the Pope. So do you also condemn our homegrown sectarianism as much as you do imported sectarianism? And
yes,
also,
of course.
And
yes.
also, you spoke about cohesive communities. I listened to Thomas Kerr's speech. He talked about deporting scumbags, a people's army, ready for battle, man the barricades. We're not here to be friendly. We're not here to be part of the consensus. We're here to rip it up. Do you not think that when people are as angry as you say they are, that kind of language, militaristic language, could be dangerous and inflame tensions rather than build cohesive communities?
I've used the phrase people's army for a very, very long time, and we are a people's army, but we're not armed with weapons, we're armed with passion in our hearts, all right? And that is our people's army. Those of us of a certain age have grown up with sectarianism in Northern Ireland politics and specimens of sectarianism in Scottish football. Luckily, fairly isolated, although punch-ups at Ibrox and fights have become quite a part of normal life. If that doesn't frighten you, I don't know what does. That is competing religions, and in some places, a competing view of the future of the island of Ireland. What I'm talking about, and by the way, the vast majority of Muslims in Britain want no part of any of this. Want no part of any of this. I'm talking about a willful attempt by bad actors who should be prescribed by law in this country, backed up unbelievably by taxpayer funding, that want to take over this country and turn it into something different. And if we don't stand up and fight, we'll jolly well lose. We're going to fight, I promise you. Okay. Kathleen Nutt from the Herald.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. A question for Mr. Farage first. You have ruled out an independence referendum for the next 10 years. You're saying that the focus should be on rebuilding Scotland over that period. So after 10 years, if things go according to your plan, when Scotland is more prosperous, as you say you want it to be, happier and healthier, would you, if you're Prime Minister at that point, grant an independence referendum? And my question for Malcolm Offord is, you talked a lot about your university education and about the importance of education. So would Reform commit to keeping university free for Scottish students, so there'd be no tuition fees for Scottish students? Thank you.
Look, what I made was, people were promised here in 2014 that the referendum on separation from the United Kingdom was a once-in-a-generation thing. So, which would mean about 25 years, all right? But I can't predict for a moment what it will be. I very much doubt there will ever be a popular will or vote to break up the United Kingdom. All right? Simple as that. Uni?
On the university question, we have got ourselves into a position now where 50% of our young people have got an ambition to go to university, which is laudable and fine, so long as they have good careers coming out at the end of that. Now, I have to say, every barman I've met in Glasgow, Edinburgh's got a degree, and yet we're short of welders, right? And I went to Babcock to see the big construction yard with the Royal Danish Navy are wanting frigates to be made, and I was looking for Billy Connolly there with his blowtorch and his mask, and he wasn't there. I said, "Where's the welder?" And he said, "The chap at the corner there with a lab coat on a PC is welding to 1 to 100,000 precision." I said, "What does he get paid?" £75,000. Okay, and yet we've just brought in, because the SNP have cut funding to Fife College, just cut our welding school. We've just brought in 300 welders from the Philippines to work in Babcock. It's a national disgrace. We need to reorganise our young people around trades, around skills, around technical jobs, and yes, there's room for university in that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think okay, let's go to Simon Johnson from The Telegraph.
Thank you. You've released your constituency candidates this afternoon for the election, Nigel, and they include a couple of former SNP people. What would you say to claims that you are soft on the union? And to Malcolm, well, it includes a couple of former SNP people, I'm just saying that as a matter of fact. And Malcolm, what is Reform's position on keeping SNP freebies like prescriptions and university tuition? Thanks.
Look, people can be something and change their minds, and we in Reform welcome sinners that repenteth.
So, on all the freebies, I said in my speech that in the last 10 years, S&P have created a welfare economy, and they had a mandate to do that. They had a mandate to do that, and that's how they chose to spend their money. And if you look at the spending departments in the last 10 years, the department that's got the highest spending per annum is welfare, 15% per annum. And one of the lowest spending departments is the police at 3% per annum, which tells you how choices have been made. So my view on this is we need to grow our economy. So when we talk about we're spending 120 and raising 90, let's grow the 90, and then we will have more money to spend on all the things that people want for free.
Okay, we're going to keep going with a couple more. Dan Sanderson from The Times, Scotland.
Hi, thanks very much. We've heard today that Glasgow is a city of lawlessness and anarchy. I was just wondering if you could say a bit more about how Reform would restore order, and in particular the Scottish Police Federation has called for more access to guns for police officers and for them to be routinely equipped with tasers. Is that something you would support? Thanks.
So on Glasgow, as I said, I've been out on the main streets of Glasgow, and it's not a pretty sight. And the fact is, we should not blame the police. They're underfunded, they're overstretched, and indeed that needs to be looked at. I think we have, as I say, we have a record amount of spending in Scotland, 120 billion. Do you know that in 25 years, when this Parliament started, the spending for Scotland was 34 billion. Today's 117 billion. On a compound annual growth rate, that is 5% growth per annum. That is not austerity. There has been no austerity in Scotland from Westminster. That is 5% annual growth in spending. It's just being spent in the wrong place. And we need to spend more on police, perhaps, and less on welfare.
I have to say, on the other side of the border, I feel very sorry for our police. They've got a hell of a tough job. They're being prioritised often into doing the wrong things. They're frustrated that the Crown Prosecution Service won't press anybody for shoplifting unless they've nicked more than 200 quid. They're facing increasing violence, and I personally believe, and I'll talk for England, not Scotland here, but I personally believe that police officers should all have tasers as a means of their own self-protection. I really, really do. Alistair Grant from The Scotsman.
Hi there, thanks very much. I think Malcolm Offord, you said the other day in an event that I think around 40% of Reform's Holyrood candidates had been members of the Conservative Party. Is that correct? Is that the position? And if so, how is that offering a fresh voice in Scottish politics? And just on the manifesto, there's lots of bold statements in it, perhaps lacking some key details. For example, it says shut down the Quangos, return their powers to democratically elected ministers. Which Quangos would you like to shut down? There's roughly 130. That includes health boards.
So the presumption should be the presumption should be to shut them all to begin with until we find out which ones can justify the resistance. Now here's the thing. There's a democratic deficit going on here now in Holyrood, where ministers are no longer accountable for key public services because they're shielded by quangos. Okay? Now, there's 23,000 civil servants working in quangos, and there's 29,000 civil servants working in the civil service with a massive overlap. It is not unreasonable to say that we should bring those together, rationalise it, make it more accountable to Holyrood. I don't see that that is a very controversial thing to say. And as far as...
I'll deal with that. Well, I can't win, can I? I mean, I'm being attacked for former SNP people standing for us. Now I'm being criticised for former Conservatives standing for us. And if they've never stood for anybody else before, you'll say they're all inexperienced. I mean, what am I supposed to do? What I will say, though, seriously, what I will say, is it's not surprising that quite a few people who've battled hard inside the Conservative Party in Scotland to try and turn it round into sensible positions have given up the ghost. And if you want any election predictions, it will be that the Conservative Party in Scotland on May the 8th will be all but obliterated. And you know what? They thoroughly deserve it. I'll do one more. Craig Patton from the Press Association. That's the last one I can take, folks. I'm sorry, we're timed out. Last one.
Thanks very much. Just to follow up on Alistair's point, Malcolm, if the position is, and you said this last week as well in an event that I was at, if the position is to scrap every single quango and then make the decision on which ones you need, how do you think that all of these, however many thousand civil servants are going to come back? Why would you come back to work if you've just been laid off at a moment's notice for no reason whatsoever? And to Nigel, just on the situation around observances in Trafalgar Square, is your position that all sort of these mass religious observances should be banned?
Yes.
All of them, including Jewish mass observances, Catholic mass observances.
I've never seen.
Mass observances.
I've never seen Jewish services taking place in places of historic Christian worship or anywhere else. Look, we have to get this right. We can't stop individuals praying. We wouldn't want to stop individuals praying. But mass prayer is banned. Mass Muslim prayer is banned in many Muslim countries in the Middle East itself. So yes, we have to stop this kind of mass demonstration, provocative demonstration in historic British sites, because that's what it is.
Just briefly on the quangos, we've got 132 quangos costing £6.5 billion. The National Information Commissioner Hamilton has just said he doesn't know what they're all doing. When you say they get back to work, will they come back to work? The question is, who's actually in the office anyway? I think we need to look at how we rationalise this in a professional way. And here's the thing: we're going to grow the private sector. We're going to go to 2 million people who work in the private sector. We're going to make wages better in the private sector. And if there's dislocation in the public sector, there'll be good jobs to be had in the private sector instead.
Okay, can I ask all of it? I can't do any more questions. I know there were more. I've taken a lot. Can I ask all of the candidates that are standing for us in the Scottish Parliament to come and join Malcolm and myself on stage? Please. Get your copy. I've got a little plan for the end.
Yes. Very good.
Just us. Okay, spread round. They're coming in both sides. Very good. Well, I wanted you all to get a look at the men and women who are putting their heads up over the parapet. Some of them are sinners from the SNP, others from the Conservative Party, and some are complete political virgins. But either way, we're very, very grateful to all of you for doing this, and we are going to make, are we not, the most enormous noise up to May the 7th and do amazingly well. Very, very good. Right, well
Still coming up.
I know.
A lot of them.
A lot of them. So I want to say to all the delegates that have turned up today for this conference, there will be many, many meetings opened out to the public, as I've been doing in England for the last week. I will be back in Scotland many times during the month of April to support this campaign. I thank all of you for coming today. I thank you all for being part of the People's Army. Let's go do this, and thank you very much indeed. Very, very good. Very, very good. Right, just hang on a second. We're not finished yet. We're not quite finished yet. I don't think we are.